So hello, I am with a new amazing guest, and we will do an amazing interview. You will enjoy. I am with Kathleen Hendricks, director of the of training in the Hendricks Institute. So we will discover how to use body intelligence and to do conscious living. She's with me. You will love her. So follow this interview. Hello, Katie.
Hello,
How are you
pleasure.
today?
I'm very happy and a little dry. We haven't had much rain here in Southern California, so we're all feeling it, and we're all doing rain dances, trying to get it to rain here.
I love the weather.
Well,
For me, it's great.
the weather is great, and the downside of that is that sometimes we get an imbalance of not getting enough moisture.
Okay, so go to France.
Right, I know. There's no problem there.
I would love to let you introduce yourself. Who are you and what is your journey?
Oh, golly. I would say that I've been fascinated with the language of the body since I was a little girl, and I could always tell what was going on, not by what people were saying to me, but what they were doing and what I was seeing in their bodies. And I could see energy from a very early age, but it was very unnerving for my family to have a little girl be seeing what was going on in the family and understanding people's feelings. And so I kind of dialed it down a little bit until,
When you say young, what age?
oh, from the time I was, for really as long as I can remember, but certainly by the time I was 4.
Wow,
Yeah.
it was a kind of a gift.
Yes, it was a gift, but it was one that wasn't very well understood because I grew up with parents who had grown up in the Midwest of our country, which is very traditional and conservative. And so one of the things my mother used to say to me is, "I don't know where you came from." I was one of those, which I think a lot of people who are creative or who don't kind of follow the path of their tribe get that kind of feedback.
Yeah.
So what really saved me when I was in the 4th grade, I had been really restless and I was a fidgeter, and today I would have been diagnosed with ADHD, but my 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Morgan, saw that I was a fidgeter, and she said, "You can sit in the back of the room and just fidget as much as you want to." And I went overnight from being a C student to being an A student. And it was my first real introduction to the power of kinesthetic learning, and that there were different learning channels, that having people sit still and be quiet to learn was absolutely the worst thing in the world for me.
Yeah.
And so,
And for you, and for a lot of children.
and for all the children, because we first learn through our bodies, and we don't learn through our heads, we learn through the intelligence of our body. So I've been really passionate about that. I became a dance movement therapist, which is a whole other long story, when I was about 19, and have been really looking at what's the meaning of movement, what's the meaning of what's going on in the rest of our bodies, and how can that inform our lives and our relationships. And so, for example, one of the big things that I've really been exploring is what I call the dance of relationship, that there are 2 steps in the dance of relationship. One is getting closer, what I call the urge to merge, and the other is getting separate, the urge to individuate. And we both have both of those pulsations. And so the dance of relationship it looks like it should be just this nice kind of minuet where you
Like
both...
the waves in the water.
Like the waves in the water, but it's really much more like when the waves hit the breakwater and you've got different rhythms going on, and one person wants to get close and the other person doesn't, and then you get offended, and then you get into this hassle, or one person tries to control the other. So the dance, really understanding from your body, do I want to get close now or do I want to get separate? That's a really fascinating exploration for people, and it's a dynamic that goes on through your whole life and through the whole life of the relationship. But it makes everything really so interesting when you're including your whole body, because then it's all about discovery.
Yeah, it's great. And so it is a powerful tool to empower a relationship.
And relationship with yourself as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just a relationship with another, but really listening to what are my body signals telling me? Do I need a drink of water?
Is it
Or,
developing intuition?
I think it comes before developing intuition, because the first thing is being able to notice yourself with curiosity. Most people notice themselves with what's wrong, or
What's the problem?
what's the problem, or what's wrong with you. There's a kind of critical voice in there that's going, really? Are you going to eat all that? Or, you should be nicer, or don't raise your voice, or, that's going on for most people. So when you learn how to notice yourself with curiosity, your body really responds to that. It's like opening a doorway to real magic, where your body can let you know. I mean, I regularly now when I'm working with someone, I have images that arise that are perfect for them, that, I don't have to think about, or I'll say, I just was really seeing the color blue, and that was my favorite sweater when I was a kid, and I lost it. And so that really, that really makes a difference for people to access intuition, because intuition comes when you're quiet and when you're open inside. It doesn't come when you're yelling at yourself or being critical.
Yeah.
So I think as you're developing your curiosity about your inner life, that intuition is one of the byproducts, that you get more in sync with life, and more in just more in the flow. You're in the right place at the right time, and you meet people and things occur that that are really most beneficial.
It's great. I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
There are a lot of people who works a lot with the head, with the
Yes.
head. And how do you help someone who say, I don't feel anything. I'm every time in my head, in my mental, right?
Yes.
How do you help someone like that to connect with his own body?
Well, there are a couple of different ways to do that. So when someone says, I don't feel anything, there's something that they're referencing. So I will sometimes ask people, where's the edge of where you do feel something? And it might even be here, it might be in their jaw, or around their mouth, or the back of their neck. But they feel something, and then suddenly they don't feel something. And so having them give attention to the edge of where they feel something, and then kind of stepping over into the unknown.
Do you start every time from the head to the bottom?
For people who are heady, yes, because that's where they're living.
They
So
live here.
all of that really, I mean, there are a lot of specific techniques that you can use, but all of that is really based on is that people are afraid. I've become really obsessed over the last year or so with helping people to break through the fear trance that most people are in. And when people are in their heads, they think that that's how they're going to be best able to control life. And they get kind of ahead of themselves in their adrenaline run, and it makes people very stressed. It ruins their creativity, and it makes their interactions with others much more difficult. So I have developed a whole video and a whole way of people doing what I call fear melters, recognizing the 4 expressions of fear. And very often when people have gone heady, they're actually doing a flee. The expression of fear, we know fight, flight, freeze, and faint. They're actually fleeing into their heads. They get analytical, they're figuring it out, or they want to combat with you. But it's really run by fear. And the moment that people realize, oh, I just fleed, there are some actual movements you can do with your body.
Can you show one?
Absolutely, I was going to show you.
Yeah.
So the one, fight, when people do fight, they look like people can get an intellectual argument. They're like, well, where's your evidence for that? And it looks like they're angry, but they're actually scared. But the fear melter for fight is oozing. So let yourself just ooze for a moment, particularly in your shoulders, because that's where people hold a lot. And
So
then
if
if you add a little breath to that, since you're not breathing, so if you breathe,
So like that?
that, yeah, or any kind of oozing.
So we don't have to make,
oozing. No, it doesn't have to be precise. It's really more the quality of
Okay.
oozing. So notice you can't fight when you're oozing.
And do you breathe with your nose?
Yeah,
Noise?
just the idea is really to open up your breathing, to like relax your belly when you're breathing, because that then connects you to your body. So if you're oozing and then starting
And
to
do you
breathe,
advise to close the eyes?
maybe at first, so that people can really give attention to themselves and they're not comparing themselves with others. So that's one of them. And then when people flee, the move for that is what we call sumo. And sumo is where, you know, sumo wrestlers in Japan? So sumo is where you get really down in your body. And it's impossible to flee when you're doing sumo. And then the third one is freeze. People, you know, they literally freeze. They stop breathing and they go like, it's a deer in the headlights move. And when people are frozen like that, you can't just say, well, just relax, it's okay. Because people won't.
Yeah, not relaxed.
They will not relax. They'll get even more frozen. But you can say, I've always found that people can wiggle their fingers and toes. So when they begin wiggling their fingers and toes, they begin to thaw out, and then they can take the wiggling all through them so that they get unfrozen.
So you start with something accessible?
Yes,
Did
yes.
you say that? Accessible?
Accessible, yes, yes. So we would start with, what I do is I start with what is the person actually doing? And then I usually have them do it a little bit more rather than stop that, because they're already saying that to themselves, you know, stop that. So if the person is frozen, I'll have them do it a little more and then wiggle.
So you ask, can you move a little bit your...
Oh, well, wiggling is just simply because when you're frozen,
Okay.
you literally are, you know,
Yeah.
you cannot feel yourself, but when you wiggle, that's a wiggle.
Okay,
And then
that's a wiggle.
that's a wiggle. That's a wiggle.
I didn't understand this.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, Thanks
Okay.
for asking. And then the fourth one that most people don't associate with fear is fainting. And most people don't just, you know, fall over faint, but they get kind of drained or have a moment where they go stupid. You know, that's kind of, And what it is the fear has drained your energy away. Just like animals, when they're really, really afraid, they'll play dead. They'll play possum. So we do that too. When we get really scared, we just go stupid. And the move for that I call welcoming, so that you actually...
Like that?
Yep, welcoming. You welcome, and usually come in and actually touch your heart or touch your belly, because then you go, oh, here I am. Oh, here I am.
Do you advise to say that?
Well,
Yeah.
here I am. Yeah, and taking a breath. But even just movement begins then to break up and then it turns fear into flow. And then from flow, you can add more things. But if you are in fear, nothing that anybody tells you is really going to make any difference. So we always apply it, like take a problem that you're working on and then see what your strategy is, and then what would happen if you did, took 3 breaths and changed your physical position, or if you let yourself notice a body sensation and got curious about it. So all of our techniques, which we have hundreds of them, they are all experiential.
It's great, and it is understandable because you struggle with a lack of experience in the school.
Yes. So it worked so well for me, and then I noticed that so many other people were struggling with trying to learn, not really being able to use all of their intelligence, whether it was auditory, or whether it was kinesthetic, or whether it was a combination of visual and auditory. And some people can actually kind of sniff out something that they want to do. So we're much more multisensory than our current educational system takes account of. So,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
So, what are your advice to use to help them to connect to their true potential?
Well, my sense is that when all of us, when we're doing something that we most love to do, that's really a signal to guide us along the path. And for me, how I know that it's something I love to do is that time just disappears. So I'm so involved in what I'm doing that not only does time disappear, but I'm more energized after I've completed what I'm doing than I was when I started. So when I'm doing my trainings and seminars, at the end of the day, I'm much more energized than I was when I got up in the morning. And I also
So it's a great indicator?
It's a great indicator. So for children, your passion is going to be something that's easy for you. And you might even be saying to yourself, oh, doesn't everybody do this? Like for me, it was, I can tell what people are feeling. I know exactly what people are feeling. Doesn't everybody? And no, everybody doesn't. But that was a skill of mine that was very easy. And I think that all children have that. And as we tune in to helping them find out, what is it that I love to do, where time disappears and it's really easy, that can help guide toward what they might want to be learning, the skills that they might want to be developing. Because there are some people who are just born dancers, they're born musicians, but there are a lot of us who got some skills in various areas, and it's not quite so clear when we're first exploring. And so having somebody who can really listen to you and also who keeps asking, what is it that you really want? What do you really want? And how can I support you in getting there and moving toward what you really want? That's really of assistance to children. Also, I'm going to give you a book that I wrote many years ago called The Moving Center. It's about movement activities for children. Of all ages, that really helps them to open up to different themes and to explore those themes just right out of the book. And so you can take that back to give to the foundation.
And you are saying something very important to help youth to an adult also to know what is important for them and focus on that. And I have an example in mind. I know someone 21 years old maybe, and he loves to do editing, video editing. He wants to succeed in that, and he did computing engineer.
Yes.
And he's safe because he can have a salary, right?
Yes.
Salary. Yes.
Yes.
He can have a salary easily because he had 5 years of studies.
Yes.
And everybody around him say him,
you should do that. You should do what's safe. Right.
And he believes in that. He believes, I should do what is safe because what can I do if I fail with editing? And what do you say? What do you want to say to parents? Because my main audience is parents. My main audience is more than 40 years old. And what do you want to say to the youth if we are someone who are listening to us?
Well, often the problem is the parents. So, that. Well, and it's not just them, it's how they grew up and it goes back generations. It's something that we inherit, the culture and the way we do things. And we actually call it the upper limit problem, that you have a certain thermostat setting for how much positive energy and things going well you can handle. And when you exceed that, or you exceed that in your family or in your community, you do things unconsciously to bring yourself back to a more familiar level. And so, like, for example, in Australia, they have a saying called the tall poppy syndrome. Don't be a tall poppy, because what happens to a tall poppy? So there's the way that gets communicated is, be safe, play it safe, don't stick out too much, don't be too full of yourself. One of the things I heard from my mother growing up is, boys don't like girls who are too smart.
Oh.
And, so it comes
A good
through,
belief.
it comes through in various ways. But I think, again, the first thing I would do with parents is to get them really acquainted with their perception is coming from fear.
Yeah.
So a couple thousand years ago, Sophocles said, when you're scared, everything rustles. So when you're scared, everything looks scary.
Yeah.
And you forget,
You change
I'm the one
your
who...
glasses.
Right, exactly. So we want to help them to really go, oh, I'm scared. It's my fear. It's not about you. I'm scared. And that sorting out is really, really important. I'm scared because I want you to do well and I don't want bad things to happen to you. And it's my fear. So I want you to be prepared to do what you really want to do. And that's really my job as a parent, is to help you to succeed in a way that's really fulfilling for you. Because at the end of your life, if you've become a computer engineer where your real passion is in video and the colors and the shapes of life unfolding, and you go, well, I was a really good computer engineer, that's not going to be the most fulfilling arc of your life. So I really, and it doesn't mean it has to be an all or nothing. The person could be a computer engineer and be taking classes or really being, at least spending part of his time doing what he really loves to do. And then
you are saying something very interesting, because when you read book on success and biography of the people who did some great things, a lot of time it is 100%, maybe 1,000%. So how do you know your own cursor, your own measure?
in the measure. Mm-hmm.
How do you know?
Well, see, that's a question that comes from the mind.
Yeah.
So a whole other, and that would come in percentages. So that part of the mind is about the size of a quarter. And in our, what would it be in French? When you're wondering, when you're curious, when you're breathing, and particularly if you have some movement going in your body, you're using your whole brain. That is, you're activating all of your intelligence. So if I want to make a decision, I want to use all of my resources, not 20% of them or 5% of them. So I like to invite people to use all kinds of different modalities to wonder. So for example, to put music on and let themselves dance around, or to be writing with their non-dominant hand, or to be singing to a friend about what they want, or taking a walk, or sitting in the bathtub and just letting themselves float and wonder. All of those things are just as valuable as putting on what we call the pros and the cons, the 4 things that would be good and the 5 things that would be bad about this. That's one thing that's helpful, but it's a very small part of what is really going to allow you to make an important decision about your life. And also, if you start moving down a path, you're not going to have a straight shot to where you're going. Just like an airplane gets to where it's going by being off course about 99% of the time. It goes off course and then corrects, and off course and corrects. That's what you need to keep your eye on is,
Yeah, it's evolution.
yes, it's an evolution, but it's also a recommitting. You get on the path by committing, by saying, okay, I'm doing this. And then you stay on the path by making little adjustments of, oh, I want to spend a little more time in this, or I want to add in this, or oh, I really like this, or ooh, I hate that, I'm not going to do that. You drop that out and you keep moving toward what you want.
And, it works if you are listening to your body signal.
Yeah, you listen to all those.
You know when you are in the right direction or
Yeah.
the wrong direction. And
There's actually a way of knowing. I call it your inner yes and your inner no, and people can learn to hear that, and it's something that's usually quieter. It doesn't yell at you. It doesn't repeat, but it's more like a little nudge. It's more just, it's very subtle. But if you listen to that, you can keep guiding yourself by, even if it doesn't make sense to your logical mind, there's a higher, deeper wisdom that is really influencing you, and it can create the most wonderful adventures. So just to give you, when I was 20 years old, I was a sophomore in college. I was a new mother. I had just gotten divorced. I had no money. And I mean, who would know that I would end up where I am? And, you know, if I could have just said, well, I guess my life is over. But I just kept really responding to...
It is a kind of faith in the life.
Yes. Well, and also not just a faith, but a continuing to participate in life, to continue to move toward what I really wanted.
Constant improving, right?
Well, I don't know if I call it improving, because that has a sense of there's something wrong with you.
Okay.
You know, it would be a constant, what we call participating, that you're playing full out. I'm here in life, and constant play. Yeah, that's. I mean, to me, we actually teach people how to play through problems rather than working on them. And it really helps in relationships, because people think that, you know, relationships are really serious and hard work and you have to work hard on them. And they actually don't work well if you work on them, but they work really well if you play.
Yeah, like a baby.
Yes, like a baby or a kid or cats. We've got cats running around here. I see lying on your suitcase.
Yeah, we learn fast when we are playing.
Yes.
If we have to work, it's boring.
It's very boring, and we turn off our intelligence. But when we're using our whole bodies, not only do we learn more quickly, but we remember, because we've got it, we've embodied it, and so we don't have to keep track of it. It's in there.
Great, I love what you are saying. We were talking about conscious loving. What is it and how we can develop that?
Well, we have in France, it's called L'amour lucide. Our book, Conscious Loving, got translated, years ago, because we wrote it quite a long time ago. We have a number of books on relationship, but the best known is called Conscious Loving. And it's really about being present in your relationship and being able to be authentic. We want people to be able to be real with each other. I think people really long to be able to be really themselves around somebody else. But the culture, our culture, and I think also I've seen this in my visits to France, there's a whole facade, you know, about how you're supposed to be. If you want to get into a relationship, there's a certain way that you're supposed to be and a certain way you're not supposed to be. And when you're dating, and then when you get into your relationship, all of these assumptions really keep you from being yourself. And that's where the big fun happens, is being open to another person. And so like for Gay and I, we're just going into our 35th year together, and we're having more fun than we've ever had. We're having better sex than we've ever had. We're both younger, stronger, and fitter than we've ever been. We're generating more creativity, more. So it's not as if you sort of peak and then, you sort of, fall off and, sort of snooze through your relationship. It can just keep getting better. So consciousness is really being able to bring your awareness to your and to your partnership. And it's really the most fun that I think human beings can have.
Yeah, I think so. And I have two questions. It is a personal question, and I believe that people can find inspiration from that. I am an entrepreneur, and I'm passionate, right?
Passionate?
I am passionate about what I'm doing, interviews, travel the world, and do speeches in France, and I love that, and I work a lot. It's not.
It's not work. You play a lot, and you're engaged.
Yeah. And it's perfect. It's working, and I love to do that. I have an impact on more and more people in France and in the world. Great, but. Big but. it's easy for me to manage my professional. It's not easy for me to manage my couple and my work in the same time.
So somewhere you got an idea that you couldn't do both.
Yeah.
That you'd have to do one or the
It's a
other.
belief, yeah.
And it is a belief.
Yeah.
And you hold that belief in your body.
Yeah, I
And
think so.
and one of the ways that I think you hold that is that you're very quick, you're fast, you think quickly, you move quickly, you decide quickly, but you get out ahead of yourself. So you actually get out ahead of your own body. And so it can feel like when you get in your body that you actually have slowed down.
Yeah.
And I would really encourage you to have at least a little bit of time every day where you actually let yourself move as fast as you are inside. So, like, for example, that you let your hands move as fast as you actually move inside, or at the pace that you actually move inside. And when you do that, there's a way that it allows you to, boom, right for that moment, you get to be present.
To express the energy inside.
To express the energy inside, we call it matching. So rather than having all of this going on inside, but outside you're just nice and calm, where you have this, when you let yourself match, then it increases your sense of flow and connection. So when you're connected with you, you can connect with others. If you're not connected with you, there's no place for you to connect with from others. There's nobody home. So, you can have ideas about it, but you won't actually have an experience of connecting. And one of the things I want to suggest to you is that I like to use my hands, go, I love my work and I love my relationship. I love my work and I love my relationship. So I want to have a relationship and I want to have my work. I'm scared that if I have my work, I won't have my relationship. That you let yourself play with, because you have what we call an either or going. I can have my work or I can have my relationship. Well, I want my work, but I can't have my relationship. So to see what is it inside you, like where did you learn that you could only have one or the other?
From my parents.
Yeah. Yeah, but you
Yeah.
learned some specific things. Like you probably learned, some specific things from your dad about the way to be, and some specific things from your mom, and you haven't questioned them, but you're still acting them out in your body.
You see, sorry, can you repeat, please?
Yes. So those things that you learned they have been like stored in files in your body. And when you start exploring them, it's what we call persona play. You start exploring the role that the roles that you learned from your dad, the roles that you learned from your mother. And we have a process we call the persona interview that allows you to get acquainted with your personas. It's really, really fun. And when you do that, it loosens...
You wonder, question yourself?
Yeah, you have somebody who questions you.
Okay.
I'll give you a couple of the questions. So like, let yourself take on the posture of a businessman. So this, because you hadn't done that before. So let your body lean forward a little bit more. So you're on your elbow. Like lean your body forward a little bit more. There, yeah. Now, and what would you, if you were to give a name to this role, what would you call this?
Florent. Yeah.
Flo?
Flo, yeah.
Flo.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty, so I'm going to ask Flo, I want you to stay in this posture and I want you to just complete, just answer the question with whatever comes to your mind, okay? So Flo, what's the most important thing to you?
As Flo, right?
Yes, right in this.
To achieve.
Yes. Right. And Flo, what are you most proud of?
To achieve also.
Yeah.
To do
Great.
fast. To do fast.
And to do it fast. Yeah, beautiful. And Flo, when did you make your first appearance?
In the mountain, when I was working with my father.
Yeah, beautiful. And Flo, who did you learn your style from?
I think from my dad and mother also. She's working a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, my father maybe more.
Okay, great. And so notice that you're needing to notice something in you in order to answer that, and that's part of what we're exploring. So, Flo, what are you most scared of?
The void, to do nothing.
Yeah. And Flo, what do you most want?
I have some words came.
You can say it in whatever language.
Yeah,
Just go ahead.
It was to be present, to feel, to be calm.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, I want you to shake up that position. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Now, you have some more color.
Okay.
Your face is more open. You have some more, your body, you look like you're more relaxed in your body.
Yeah.
Just from that little interview. So the exploration of these roles, they kind of constrict your authenticity, but they also keep you safe.
Yeah.
You know, and they allow you to, to be in society. And so this is about making friends with your personas,
Yeah.
so that you can take, I really like this aspect of what I learned from my dad, but I think I'm going to let go of those. And I really like this aspect of what I learned from my mom. Ooh, I'm afraid to let go of these. And you really start finding the difference between your authentic self and what that we call essence, and the things that you learned.
Yeah.
And that can be a lifelong process, and it can also be really fun.
Yeah, it's fun. And it's very fun to do this exercise because I use Gestalt
Yeah.
with my clients, and it's amazing. Thank you very much.
You're very
It
welcome.
was very powerful to do that in English also.
Yes, I was very pleased that you were able to do that and think. And often when we're doing things like this with people from other countries, we have them answer in their native language in there. So that's a whole other way to do it.
I listen a lot of speaker and author in English, so I have the vocabulary about this about emotion.
Yes, and yes, I hear you. And your very first language is embedded really down in your cells, and so I think it's valuable to honor that as well.
Yeah.
To really make deep changes.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
How can the people follow you?
There are several different ways that people can get in touch with us. One is our website is hendricks.com. It's www.hendricks.com. We also have quite a well-populated Facebook page. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/relationship advice, and we have 3 relationship tips that show up every day. We have lots of videos.
Great.
There's a lot of things that people can learn from that, and we also have another website that's called the foundationforconsciousliving.com, and that has videos that people can learn about authenticity, responsibility, and appreciation, and how we can all change the world by using those 3 principles. So that's really my passion right now, is to is to populate the world with people who are living authentically and taking responsibility for their lives and appreciating themselves and others.
Yeah, and I love that. I believe a lot in responsibility and also in authenticity. I do my best to live like that.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.